Hey guys, Chris from Purple Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're doing an amp and sub install in this 2016 Ford F150. Now in this install we're going to show you how to integrate that sub to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Now before we dive into things, a couple of things to note. This is just the XLT trim. Generally XLT does not come equipped with any factory amplifier. It's just the base audio sound system. Now additionally, this truck has already had the radio replaced. It has a float mount Alpine screen in it. Now we'll cover all bases in case you have a factory radio and you either have the Sony or B&O audio sound system and where to tap into those specific connections. If you have an aftermarket radio like we do already, nice thing is all aftermarket radios for the most part are going to have RCA outputs to supply your new amplifier and subwoofer the signal it needs. Without further ado, what we need to do is head over to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to use for our install. Alright, so here at the bench, the parts that we're going to go with for our install, first and foremost is the amp and sub the customer wants us to put in. Now this one, we went specifically with a powered subwoofer, meaning the amp is already built into the box of the subwoofer enclosure. Now obviously you can also install an amp and sub separately. We've done that many times here on the channel. The reason why this one was specifically chosen, it's small enough that it'll actually still fit in the OEM package tray underneath the rear seats. There are other amp and sub combo options out there, a ton on the market. Some that you can do 210s, 212s, face down. You could do 8s facing forward. We've done all that on the channel. We can link various videos of our installs in the description. Power that sub, we need to also install an amplifier wiring kit. This is a Scar Audio 8 gauge OFC kit. Comes with power, ground, RCAs, remote turn on wire, some speaker wire, fuse and fuse holder, and all the connections needed for your install. Rockford Fosgate came with a wiring accessory kit here, which comes with the bass knob wire, terminals, the RCA inputs for it, everything that we'll need to hook everything up. Because we have an aftermarket radio, we don't need any sort of line out converter or anything like that. If you had a factory radio, this unit also takes a high level input, meaning a speaker level input, and we can show you how to hook that up in just a moment. So first thing we need to do is let's go show you where this is going to sit. Then we got to map out our wire runs from the battery and radio all the way back to the subwoofer enclosure itself. So we're back here in the truck, and you'll notice that we have a package tray, and the customer uses this package tray often, so we don't want to replace it. Back behind the seat, there is some space there available, but this P300 8-inch sub doesn't really fit back there based on the studs of the seat belt bolts, so that's not an option. You could do a smaller powered subwoofer or find something that fits back behind the seat. You can certainly do that as well. Our 8-inch actually fits in that center pocket rather well, and so we're going to use that there. And the nice thing is with this Rockford Fosgate setup, it can easily be disconnected if needed. Now here on the side of the subwoofer, there you have quite a few adjustment settings. We've already covered how to really get this all set up in the unboxing video of something similar. We can link that video in the description, but for our setup here today, generally speaking, a good place to start your gain is about noon. Now it does have a high and low input, so if you have an aftermarket radio, keep it to low, and then you'll connect your RCA cable dongle here to the RCA supplied in your amplifier wiring kit, which will go to the radio, and that's what we're going to do today. But if you have a factory radio and you're not going to use a line out converter, this actually can take a high level input signal, so a low level line out converter isn't needed. You can switch it to the high, which means it can take a high level speaker input. You can simply cut these off per the instructions of the kit, and then extend these speaker wires to tap into any of the speaker wiring within the vehicle, whether it be the factory subwoofer behind the rear seat, whether it be the rear speakers or the front speakers, you can tap into either one. Now because we already have an aftermarket radio in the dash, this will simply connect into the RCA outputs of that aftermarket radio. Now our battery is here on the passenger side, which means we'll probably run our power wire from the battery area through the passenger side grommet, working our way back to our powered subwoofer. Our amplifier wiring kit does come with a fuse, and we want that as close to the battery as possible to protect that run between the battery and our new aftermarket amplifier. So let's find firewall access and run that power wire through the firewall. So looking a little deeper here, there is our factory grommet on the passenger side. You can see there, it actually has a little nipple on top of that, that you can actually get some flush cuts, cut that off, and this can expose a hole that you can pass your power wire through the firewall. But it is meant for additional accessories. So we're gonna grab our flush cuts, cut that off, and that's gonna expose the hole needed. Okay, we went ahead and cut that off. So you see that hole there? Now to fish our wire through, we still like to use a hanger to help us fish it so it goes down by the kick. But let's go ahead and feed our wire through into the cabin. All right, so we actually went ahead and used a hanger and poked it through. There may be another thin little rubber wall to pierce through. A hanger does it easily, and then we sprayed in a spray bottle, some soap and water right there to get it nice and slippery. So we passed this all through. We actually went ahead and taped our wire to it. We're gonna lube this up with some soap and water too, so it easily passes through. Then we'll go from the inside and pull it through the firewall. When we passed our wire hanger through, we kind of fished our hand up in there and we can feel where it came out, guided that wire hanger down, and so we'll pull from this end, pulling that wire through the firewall. All right, so with our power wire now pulled through the firewall here, we actually went ahead and split loomed it, created a little fuse holder mount out of some ABS plastic, so it's nice and sturdy, it's serviceable there, and a loop that goes up into the positive post of the battery. We're not gonna hook that up until the amplifier's all connected, but it'll go to this post here on our positive side. So for now, we can just leave that there, got everything nice and zip tied. It's really done at this point. Nice and clean under the hood. So let's jump inside the cab to show you how we're going to continue running that wire to the location where our powered sub is going to be located. Here we are inside. That's where it comes on down. Now we want to run this wire up underneath our panels here. These are all held on with clips. We'll show you how they pop on off. And we're going to run this wire up underneath these kick panels, working our way towards the back. So we continue running that wire down. You saw us fish it up underneath, and we just went up underneath here. You can actually pull the carpet back, and we came out here with our power wire. We did put a little hole through our pocket up underneath the seat, and it goes into the positive terminal of our amplifier. It is indicated on our terminal coupling there, what's positive and what's negative. We hooked it up to the terminal. We made sure we got it on the positive. And with our leftover split loom underneath the hood, we went ahead and split loomed it just for a nice clean look. Same thing with our negative, that's included with our amplifier wiring kit. We ran that down and also split loomed it. It comes out about here. We put wire ferrules on our connections, put that Approval Beast heat shrink on just so we ensure that we have a nice clean connection. Now we'll need to locate a ground, and we'll show you how to do that here in a moment. But that takes care of power and ground. Now our additional connections at the amplifier, we need an RCA connection, a remote turn on wire, and this includes a base knob, so we're going to run that wire as well. So our Rockford Fosgate powered amplifier that's built in has this RCA dongle. What we did is we connected the RCAs included with our amplifier wiring kit, and we actually went ahead and also put a pair of heat shrink tubes over it and shrunk them down just so we have a nice tight connection that connects to RCA, and that's going to go to our aftermarket radio. Included also in this bundle, we did our remote turn on wire, which goes in there, and it also goes into this bundle, which we're going to run forward along with the RCAs to the aftermarket radio. And finally the base knob, which connects into there. We're going to run that there as well. We went through. We're going to go behind the seats and work our way on the driver's side, running that wire towards our aftermarket radio. Now, again, if you're running a factory sound system setup and you're just tapping into that, usually on this generation F-150, your factory subwoofer is located behind the seats here, and you're going to have two sets of wires that go to that. That's going to be your positive and your negative that you'll connect into your wiring here, and you'll set your amp to high level input. You could use a line out converter there and keep it on low level input. That's totally your call. This also has a signal sense for a remote turn on. So if you don't want to run a remote, it'll actually automatically turn on for you if you set the remote input to audio or DC offset instead of remote. We're going to keep ours on remote. We're going to keep ours on low level input because we have an aftermarket radio. So let's continue running these other wires towards the radio and connect our ground. Alright, so we went ahead and did our ground here. Now with our wire brush, we cleaned up the paint super well. Paint is a great resistor with electricity, so any paint left on there, it's going to have a really poor connection for your amplifier. Cleaned the paint off really well. We tapped a 10mm bolt in that location with a lock washer, and that's going to be a great ground for us. We'll have to clean up all our shavings here. This portion is the structure up for our seats, so it's very rigid, it's very thick, it's a perfect location. Now alternatively, there is a factory ground here, and it's there located on the back wall, so you're welcome to use that as well. That's totally your call. We went ahead and made our own ground. That's all in. Now we can put our jack back in this location after we vacuum, and we can now continue running our RCAs, base knob wire and remote turn on wire towards our aftermarket radio. So with our RCAs, base knob wire and remote turn on wire, we ran it up and then up under, we just fished it underneath the carpet here, just fished it on down. Same thing with the other side, popped our panels out, base knob, remote turn on wire, and RCAs come out there. Just like on the passenger side, we'll pop these panels off and work our way forward. All right, so we got everything pretty much all buttoned up back here. We'll still need to set some gains and our crossover point, everything like that on the amp, which is why we haven't put everything back in. But looking nice and clean here. That's our goal and purpose, and everything can be disconnected down the road if in the event they needed the space, they can certainly do so. At this time, we've run our wire all the way up to the driver's side kick panel. Now we need to pull the radio, pull our wire up into the dash, and make our final connections. Alright, so we ran our wire up really to the kick panel here. Now we have to transition to get the radio out so we can fish our wiring up underneath the steering column into the dash to make our connections to the back side of our radio. This is a Alpine Halo 9-inch. This truck was originally equipped with an 8-inch Ford factory screen, and we used the iDataLink Maestro kit to put in a 9-inch floating Halo screen by Alpine. So we're going to go ahead and get this pulled apart here to make our connections. Now you can also use this technique if that radio happened to be factory. You can tap in the speaker output of the factory radio for signal here using a line out converter or high level input, whatever you want to use. But at this point, let's get this out to make those connections. Alright, so we fished our RCAs up. We went ahead and plugged them into the sub output of the radio, and a remote turn on wire we connected to the radio's blue white wire. So with those connections now made, we can actually go ahead and reseat the radio and reassemble. Alright, so we have the radio all back in. We turn on the sub output on the radio. Don't forget to do that if that's an option. But that's all back together. It's really nice Halo 9-inch floating screen. Looks really nice and clean in this dash. We have our powered subwoofer, and it can be disconnected, removed if needed. That's why this one is a great solution for this truck. Just in case you actively use this space, you can still get to it. Underneath the hood, we got our power wire all hooked up there. Little Provo Beast heat shrink. Got that all connected, all zip tied. We are done underneath the hood. At this point, we are done and good to go here. And we have so many other videos on this generation F150. If you want to see any of those videos, including a 5-channel amplifier to a factory or aftermarket radio in case you want to go all out or replace your speakers or your radio, we'll link those videos down in the description. If you like any of the parts that we use, we'll link them as well. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. We will see you in the next video.